My name is Jo Bullivant. I'm a lecturer and a researcher in the Faculty of Music. I'm mainly interested in British music in the 19th and 20th centuries, but because that is quite nerdy, even for me, I'm also really interested in digital musicology. So what I'm going to talk about today is bringing those two things together and sort of tell you a bit of a story about how I got from doing the nerdy stuff into digital musicology and how we got into bringing this research to the public. So the first thing I actually did that was digital was a catalogue of the works of Frederick Delius. So this is, you count all of a composer's works and you say what's a work, what's not a work, and you find out where all of their manuscripts are, and then you write it up. So this is what a thematic catalogue is, and it's about the sort of most conventional bit of musicology that you can do, really. But we decided to make it digital, and while I was doing this, I thought that it was really great that we can make it digital so anyone could look at it. But then we've also got this problem that this is not accessible for people who not only can't read music, but you have to be like a real expert to understand what the significance of these things are. So we've got sketch material, sketches on the verso of a sketch for sonara. What does that mean? And you know, it's how are these part of the, because really this is telling the story of a work, in this case Delius's work Brigg, but how do you tell how all of these pieces of paper that have like a little scribble in or have a few bars of music on, how do they fit into that story? How do we tell people that they are important? And there was a particular bit that I thought was really important. So you can see here, if I wiggle, is it, yeah, there it is. Thomas Beecham's copy of the published score. So this is like a tiny footnote and it says he's got his performance markings in. And actually, when we look at those performance markings, you can see them here. Can you see that okay? Can you see the blue? So you can see that there is a ton of blue here, and this is what Beecham did. He's famous for using his blue pencil and adding lots of stuff onto the score. And if you go to the shop, Blackwell's Music down the road, and you say, I want a score of Brigg and I want the most authoritative one that they've got, they will give you a score which has all of this blue printed in, and no one will tell you what's Beecham and what is Delius. So Beecham has made this massive contribution to what we think of as Delius's sound, and you can see, you'll see that there's all of these arrows on which are crescendo and diminuendo marks, so it gets louder and quieter. So what this means is we've got this sort of ebb and flow, this sort of wishy-washy sound going all the time, and you can hear that in Beecham's recordings. So we just hear this bit, and this is what you're looking at. So I think, you know, Beecham's interpretation is great, but I also think people should know what a composer wrote, what somebody else wrote, and they should be able to tell that story. So what came out of this was that we made this site called Discovering Music. And this is on the British Library website. It's permanently available. It's freely available to anyone in the world with an internet connection. And the idea is it helps us to start telling this story to people in an engaging way, or that is at least the idea. So we've got all these tabs that you can look at. You can look at, for example, works. So if you're interested in the one we've just looked at, Brigg, you get a little blurb about what this piece is about, and then you can go down and you can see all of these articles. There is clearly the finest article on the whole website by me. And there's a bit of the recording that you just heard. We can see a letter from Delius to Warlock talking about Englishness, because Brigg is an English folk song. And what's not popped up there, but what you can also hear, is Joseph Taylor singing in the town of Brigg, the folk song Brigg Fair, circa 1906, as was recorded by Percy Grainger. So that's pretty cool, that you can hear all of these different things, and that it's a multimedia resource. So you can read articles like mine waffling on about why this is significant. You can see the actual notes that people were working with, these manuscripts that are these sort of physical traces of what composers were doing, and you can actually listen to a bit as well, so you can get the benefit, which is what we as musicologists will always do, is we'll have the score and the CD and the book and the manuscript all there together, that we can start to make a virtual space where it's possible for anyone to do that. So that's why we're trying to do this. If Delius isn't your bag, you can also find out about lots of other people, mainly 20th century British at the moment. So there's Britten, there's Elgar, but there's Ethel Smythe, if you're into your female composers, very important. And we're going to expand this. So this is phase one, this is a pilot project, but we want to do more and more of this. This isn't also quite enough. So we've got all these different resources together in one site. Ideally, what you'd like to be able to do is to make those interactive so that you get even more insight into what's going on. We haven't been able to do this on the British Library website yet, basically because it's a corporate website and you cannot put your tiny piece of music research software on there and risk breaking their system and making their emails not work. So we haven't cracked that particular nut yet, but we do have a prototype which is masquerading as a piece, as a page of the British Library website, but is actually somewhere totally different. So, you know, don't tell them. I've shown it to you. And what we have here is we've got this another version of this article, but we've got these various features that are helping you to engage with it even more. So you can, for example, see that if you're reading and you think, who's Beecham, then you can click on a little 2-second query of who he is. And you can also, if we start talking in detail about this particular manuscript, so this is a manuscript of the original version of Delius's string quartet slow movement, and it's called Late Swallows. So you can actually see something he's written in his own handwriting. But we're also talking about why it's significant. And I'm saying, why did Beecham feel like he could shove blue pen all over Delius? And one of the answers is here, actually, we have this enormous long slur at the top of the first violin page, which you can actually see highlighted. So this is the bit I'm talking about when you click through. And this makes it really, really difficult to play if you're a violinist, because you run out of space at the end of your bow before you're through the first bar. So it's being able to just explain that, to see it, and there you can see a professional string quartet have actually marked up how they play it, and then you've got a little video of somebody playing it. So it's just very much a pilot. This is a work in progress, but trying to develop these little tools just so we can help people to understand the relationship between manuscripts and the input of different people, and then the music as we know it from listening in our own time, from going to concerts, from other experiences. So if anyone has any questions or wants to have a look around the site, I'm over the other side of this basement layer in my little stall, and we've got 2 laptops, so you can have a go. We've also got a little pub quiz, where you can go on a fact-finding mission around the site, should you wish to. And yeah, and that's all I've got to say today, so thank you for listening.